Hey, history is coming up, and this election matters. So we're voting at the national level and at the state level, and I am honored to be with Congressman Juan Ciscomani, which represents us right here in Tucson, AZ6. Thank you so much, Congressman, for being with us today.
Always good to be with you.
Thank you. And here's the thing. I want us to think. And so of course, I reached out to the other candidate, Kirsten Engel's office, and unfortunately, they had to pass on this because she was insanely busy. So this is a real privilege to be with the congressman, and I'm just gonna open it up and ask him if he would share with us what's his vision for the next 2 years. You know, he served for 2 years, and so we can kind of see his track record, and here we are in front of this incredible election. So Congressman, tell us why you're running again. It wasn't 2 years enough for you?
Well, 2 years, well, we did a lot of good things, but there's more to do. One of the things that I'm the most proud about that we were able to do in these 2 years is showing up, right? You call, you want to do this and share with your students in your class. Absolutely, I'm going to make time for that because we need to reach as many people as possible. Our office was always open for that as well. We visited your campus and many other schools out there. So we have a very clear vision on this. Having grown up in this community, I went to Utterback Middle School, Rincon High School, Pima Community College, the U of A. My first job was at the Wendy's on Broadway in Cole, right by the old Kmart. So I grew up in this community, and I want to make sure that it's in good shape. Just 2 blocks away from here, my dad and I used to wash cars when I was a kid to make ends meet. So I have strong roots and connections. Now, I'm an immigrant. I was born in Mexico, came to the U.S. when I was 11, became a U.S. citizen in 2006. And then 16 years later, elected to the United States Congress as the first immigrant from Mexico to be elected to any kind of federal office in Arizona's history. So I believe in the American dream. I believe in the opportunities this nation offers, and I believe in our community. That's why I believe in securing our border. I believe in improving our immigration system as well, because I went through it. I know how much work it needs. The economy is a big one as well.
That's right.
In terms of vision for the cost of living. So many families out there. I'm a flag football coach. I know you're a coach as well. So when you get out on that field, you meet a lot of people, a lot of parents, and the number one issue they bring up, along with securing our border, is the cost of living. A lot of families are on fixed incomes, and they can't afford the same things that they did before. So the federal government has been overspending for way too long. We need to reel that in. So these are the kind of things, and our veterans.
Yes.
Those are my top 3. Veterans, we have the 9th largest veteran population in the whole country, right here in CD6, over 70,000 veterans. So it's very important to prioritize their needs as well.
That's awesome. You know, I have a similar story, not the same, but, you know, I was born in Bangladesh. And so we came over to the United States, and I remember at 16 years old, putting my hand on a Bible in a Miami courthouse, saying, I am going to be a citizen and I'm going to uphold the laws. And so I tell my students, you never care about history or politics till it affects you.
Yeah.
Well, last year I had a friend whose father was working at a restaurant. And one day the owner said, you're no longer employed here. And he said, why? He said, I've hired someone else. It was an illegal immigrant. It was an illegal person that has come through. And so Nogales is pretty close, isn't it? Our border, I've been down there many times and talked to Border Patrol agents. Is our border secure? Yes or no?
Well, yeah, when you look at this, I think that's a good example because there are people that are come here to work, right? And the path to get here legally has been so slow and bureaucratic for so long that it makes it very difficult.
Yes,
and that lends itself for the border to be overflown. Listen, I'm an immigrant, you're an immigrant. We want people to come here and work and live a better life and pursue that American dream. I have nothing against that. And I want to make sure that we improve the system so that that can become easier and better and more streamlined. What I have an issue with, and a lot of the people that I talk to, is that we don't know who's coming in.
Right.
The people don't even, they barely get checked and they're released. We've seen, criminal activity from some of these groups. Some of them, especially when they're trying to avoid law enforcement, they're bringing in, fentanyl through the ports of entry. So it really opens it up. But the days of just families immigrating to live a better life here, those groups are really diminishing. And what you see the majority of right now are groups that are just very little background check and barely processed and then released into the country. And that is when not knowing who they are becomes very dangerous.
Exactly. Now, the next 2 years, do you have a clear vision of where you want to go? What are your big topics that we should care about?
Well, again, it's going to be the reform of immigration. It's going to be security with that as well. The border security piece. Again, we have to make sure that we have energy independence right here in this country. That is one of the things that is driving up the cost of everything. When we over-regulate that industry, and that jacks up the price for everything else that depends on that. So that's going to be a big one. Again, I want to continue to work for our veterans. The VA here in Southern Arizona has made a real turnaround. I hear very good feedback on it, but there are still things that we can improve generally for our veterans. Disability claims still take too long. I have some bills on that. So it's going to be a lot on veterans, the economy, of course, immigration and the border, and education. That's a big one. I mean, I know it's a big one for you. It's a big one for us as well. I've visited tons of schools here, from high schools to middle schools to elementary schools, just knowing exactly what the needs are, and also thanking the teachers, thanking the principals, the educators that are out there every single day teaching our kids. You know, and I have 6 kids. I have a vested interest in our school system here working. I'm a product of public education. I'm a product of Title I schools. That's why I've supported Title I schools. That's why I've supported Head Start. I'm an appropriator. This is something very important for the group to know, that I'm in the Appropriations Committee, the committee that determines where the funding goes from the federal government. And I've voted to support Title I funding, Head Start as well. These programs that are key for the public school system, for our kids to be able to be well prepared and well equipped to take on the challenges.
Absolutely.
Some of the funding that we brought back was for JTED as well, for career and technical education.
Sure.
You know, community college or even 4-year universities, it's just not for everyone right off the bat. My nephew is actually, he spent about 1.5 years exploring what he wanted to do. He ended up in this this class, this degree, to getting a construction degree, and that's what he wanted to do, but he didn't go into student debt for that. So you've got all these different things that we can do on the career and technical education to make sure that everybody has a future, whether you want to go to college or you want to start working. We need to make sure that everybody's prepared for that. And that's why I'm a big proponent of JTED as well.
Excellent, excellent. You know, something interesting happened yesterday that I want to ask you about. So I've been getting a lot of flyers in the mail for both sides. And I got this one yesterday. And this is actually not from Congressman Ciscomani's office, but this is very interesting because it's not endorsing any candidate, but it's talking about that you are very bipartisan and you're all about education. So if I'm not a Republican, I can still vote for you with confidence that you're going to be bipartisan or not.
Yeah, well, with this, I didn't know about this flyer either. I'm seeing it now when you showed it to me right before this. This is encouraging. Where the bipartisan aspect comes from is there's a ranking by the Lugar Institute. They do this every year, up from, I think it's Georgetown University, and they do this ranking, and they rank the most bipartisan members of Congress. And in Arizona's case, I was ranked the most bipartisan member of Congress by working with both sides. Now, what this means is that when you see a good idea and there are several people working on it, I want to form a coalition around it. We did that with veterans. We did that with education as well, because I voted for these things that I talked about, Head Start and JTED, and you had Democrats voting for that as well. And if they want to work with me to help veterans, to help educators, to even protect the border, my border security bill passed the House with every Republican and 56 Democrats voting for it as well. So very bipartisan. So these are the examples that they use to rank us. And as a freshman, I got ranked the most bipartisan member, and also the one that actually passed the most legislation out of Arizona. Why? Because that's what it takes to pass things. Work with people that you may not agree on everything.
That's right.
Or even on most things. But if we find that thing that we can agree on, and that means that it's going to be good for my constituents, I'm going to jump on it.
That's right. And that's so interesting because, I saw a sign the other day, and it was talking about bipartisan. It wasn't with you or anything, but it was basically problems and people over party. And I really like that. That was a hook for me because I'm like, it seems like if with that ranking that you just talked about, that you're really actually caring about people and people's needs, and you're wanting a better future for America. And if it means breaking rank with your party, you'll do that. And so I think you do ruffle some feathers, don't you?
Well, this is one of those districts that is 1/3 Republican, 1/3 Democrat, and 1/3 Independent. So I think anything you do, someone's going to be like, I'm not sure I'm totally happy with that. But I tell my team all the time, I said, listen, if anybody asks us what kind of work we're in the people business.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day,
Sure.
we got to take care of people. If it's a passport that has been delayed that they need, people call our office. If it's an IRS issue, if it's a Medicare issue, if it's a VA issue, they call our office. Scott, we've returned over $5 million to our constituents from money that was stuck in the red tape of the federal government. Because people call the federal government, you know this at home, you can call and you're on the wait line there for 20, 30 minutes. You don't have time. You got to go to work. So a lot of people call our office, and we go and advocate for our constituents on one-on-one basis. I mean, I call for, hey, we're calling on behalf of boom, name and case number and what's going on. And that way, our constituents have been able to get back over $5 million.
That's amazing.
For money that was stuck,
That's amazing.
Benefits that were theirs, but just typical federal government, ineffective, taking too long to do things.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Congressman, I know you're so busy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Thank
I
you.
wish the other side would have also done this so we can be informed voters. I wish you and your family all the best.
Well, thank you so much. It's the power of showing up, right? You got to show up for the people.
That's right.
You got to
That's
show
right.
up. You got to answer the questions and be transparent. And that's the culture in Southern Arizona. That's why I'm happy to do this. And I'll see you back on the campus soon there.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.